My ideal profession is to be an emergency room nurse at a trauma hospital. At a trauma hospital, you get to see all different types of trauma, whether it's gunshot wounds or car accident victims or machinery accident victims or cardiac arrests or burns from fires or chemical burns. Some of my strengths that I think will help me be a good emergency room nurse, first and foremost, is my experience with emergency medical services. I'm currently a member of a local volunteer fire department, and I've taken care of patients both in cardiac arrests and in car accidents, and it definitely has helped me to learn how to manage your time effectively with patients. Sometimes you don't have a lot of time to get your patient ready to go and get them to the hospital. Sometimes they need medical attention right away. So you have to really manage your time and view what's most important to the patient to help them get better. Thing number two, I'm highly self-motivated, I'm hardworking, and I'm dedicated. Everything I do, I give 100%, whether it's been schoolwork or athletics or EMS. I definitely think that I put 100% of every of my soul into getting the job done. Thing number three is I'm very caring. I give 100% to my patients that I've had. I try and use a golden rule, which is do unto others as you would have done unto you. I treat every patient that I've had on the ambulance and in my clinical experiences at Adelphi, with the care that I know I would want to receive. I know that if I was sick and I was in trouble and I was in a hospital, I would want to be cared for well. And I try to give that patients that comfort to know that I can care for them well and make them feel a little bit better. Some of the research that I did was first Florence Nightingale. She's the mother of nursing. She came up with the Code of Ethics. It wasn't written when she was starting out, but her philosophies are the basis of modern nursing today. She wanted clean environment, uh, fresh, open rooms, like clean air. Everything just had to be clean, not and a lot of light. She thought that patients who were in these dark, damp, dreary, dirty rooms, they weren't going to get better. She thought that the clean environment was going to help them get better, and it showed very effectively that her philosophies were correct. Um, a second article that I read was by Sue Hancock, and the number one thing I got out of that article was to uphold honesty at all times, especially with your patients. You never want to lie to your patient. Like, if a patient says to you, am I going to die? You want to be able to tell them, well, you're not sure, but at the same time, you want to almost reassure them that you're going to do everything you possibly can to make them okay. Another thing is to be true to yourself in nursing. I got that out of the article too. You have to be true to yourself, because if you're there and you don't want to be there, you shouldn't be a nurse. You need to really think about why you want to be a nurse. It's not for the money. You do it because you care for the patients and because you want to help them get better. Um, some classes that have helped me. One was my nutrition class. I really liked that class because it taught me a lot about the different types of nutritional needs people may have. And it also taught me a little bit about my own nutrition and how to be healthier. I didn't know before taking that class that people who have diabetes need a different diet than somebody who has a cardiac history, and somebody who has different GI issues needs a different diet. Um, Another class that I really liked was my fundamentals class. That really taught us how to interact with the patients. That's basic nursing 101. You learn how to wash the patients, you learn how to care for the patients, you learn how to feed the patients. And I like that class because I learned how to talk to patients and how to care for patients and how to advocate for the patients. That's the number one thing as a nurse I got out of that class, was you have to always advocate for your patient. If you are in the hospital and a doctor's ignoring you, you're telling them something, or the patient tells the doctor something that they're just not recognizing, you have to go up to the doctor and say, hey, listen, this is my patient, this is what's going on with him, he needs to be looked at right now. Or if not right now, within like a certain amount of time. Because if something, it can even be something small like an abnormal lab value that can send a patient into some sort of cardiac shock, or and they can die. Ultimately, they can die. So you always have to be advocating for your patients. My third class that I think will help me be a good emergency room nurse is my EMT class that I'm in right now. In this class, I've learned how to manage time efficiently while giving patients the best care that I can possibly give them. This is good because in an emergency room, you might have 4 patients that have the flu or a stomach virus or something that's very minor, but they're still sick. They're in the emergency room. And next thing you know, the head nurse comes over to you and says, "All right, we're having a head trauma come in. This kid fell off a trampoline and he's unresponsive. He's passed out. They're doing chest compressions on him right now. He's in cardiac arrest." And the nurse says to you, "That's going to be your patient." You have to think quickly, what am I going to do? How am I going to assess the patient? What kind of tools am I going to need when I go in to look at this patient? So you always need to be prepared, and I think EMS has definitely taught me how to be prepared for different types of patients. So I hope that answers the questions, and thank you. Thank you for listening.